DIJONAI Carrington just lost her only endorsement deal and she brought it on herself. Reebok is done with her after she clotheslined Sophie Cunningham in a nationally televised WNBA game across the neck and got tossed from the game. But the foul isn't even the part that got her fired. What she posted right after tagging the Indiana Fever's own account is what sealed it. Reebok's basketball division is run by Shaquille O'Neal, and Carrington decided to go after him on social media in an unhinged rant right after her deal got pulled, reportedly throwing a major tantrum. Does Carrington deserve to be fired by Reebok? What should the WNBA do? Let me know down in the comments below.
Reebok is reportedly dropping their endorsement for DIJONAI Carrington after she attacked Sophie Cunningham. Let's go.
2 minutes left in the first quarter. Sophie Cunningham takes off on a fast break, driving hard toward the rim for what should have been an easy 2 points. Carrington is chasing from behind and instead of going for the ball, her left arm swings straight across Cunningham's head and neck. Full force. No attempt at a steal. No attempt at a block, nothing. Cunningham's mouth is bleeding and she still finishes the layup, then knocks down the free throw right after getting clotheslined. That's the kind of toughness that gets you a standing ovation on the road. And she got one. The refs first called it a common foul, which tells you how fast this all happened live. But once they hit the review, everything changed.
What happened when this young lady got ejected from a WNBA game the other day for a flagrant foul on Sophie Cunningham? Did y'all see that? She got ejected from the game for that flagrant foul right there, and I'll be damned if that wasn't a flagrant too. She mugged her. Damn near came across like decapitating her, for crying out loud. That was definitely a hard foul. Make no mistake about it, nobody can argue about it. You can say what you want. We know what we saw. No way around it. The DIJONAI Carrington foul was clearly unnecessary. It was a flagrant foul penalty too. It was absolutely positively correct call. It was called the flagrant 2. That's a flagrant 2 every single damn time in the NBA and the WNBA.
Flagrant 2 needs wind-up, impact, and follow-through, plus a player caught in a vulnerable position with real risk of injury. Carrington's swing checked every box. She wasn't playing the ball because her eyes never went near it. Every angle of that replay shows her staring at Cunningham's head and neck the entire time, which is exactly why one commentator called it the Undertaker clothesline from hell. That's not a stretch. That's what the tape shows. And here's the part that should embarrass Chicago. The United Center crowd, Chicago's own fans, started chanting for Cunningham after Carrington got tossed. Not for their own player, for the girl who just got hit in the face. When your home crowd turns on your own player mid-game, that's not refs overreacting. That's everybody in the building seeing the same thing you did on replay. Fever coach Stephanie White didn't come out swinging afterward either. She said she didn't think Carrington intentionally went for the neck and even praised her old Connecticut Sun player for competing hard, saying, "Nobody's just walking in for an uncontested layup against her." Fine. Loyalty to a former player, sure, but you need to protect your current player first. League's own pool report backed up the ejection completely, with referee Maj Forsberg confirming Cunningham's reaction to the hit was justified given how severe the contact was and that the flagrant 2 criteria were clearly met because the contact was unnecessary and excessive against a player with no way to protect herself in the air. Cunningham herself wasn't shocked by any of it. She'd been ejected the year before for something similar against J.C. Sheldon, so she knew exactly what a flagrant like this looks like from both sides of it. That's the piece people miss. This isn't some rookie mistake by the officials or a first-time blow-up between two players who don't know each other. This is a pattern that finally got flagged in real time on national television with the whole building watching it happen. And Reebok was watching it, too.
I don't oppose the hard foul, but I also don't think that she intentionally went for the neck. I listened to that whole post-game news conference by Stephanie White. There was no mention of Sophie Cunningham or any support for her own player. And remember last week when I told you about it on the show, when Sophie was elbowed in the face in another game and the officials gave Sophie Cunningham the foul, and Stephanie White looked like a spectator because she didn't get up out of her seat to argue that call even after a video review let the call stand? That's Sophie's coach. She never supports Sophie Cunningham, ever, ever.
Here's the part that makes this so much worse for Carrington. She didn't have 5 brands lined up waiting to see how this played out. Reebok was her only major endorsement deal, signed back in April 2025, and it was supposed to be the start of something big for her off the court. Without it, she's got nothing else backing her up financially or reputation-wise in the sponsorship world. So, how did she even land this deal in the first place? Her father was a Reebok athlete before her, and that connection mattered when Reebok came calling. Now, she did have real basketball credentials, 2 most improved player, all-defensive first team. The kind of resume that gets attention on its own. But the family tie is what opened the door. And that's the part that makes this whole situation harder to defend. Because when a deal comes partly from who your dad knows and not purely from what you've built yourself, and then you blow it up with your own behavior, there's no "I earned this" argument left to lean on. The nepotism angle doesn't just look bad. It removes her only excuse. The deal wasn't small either. Reebok built her up as the face of their basketball relaunch alongside Angel Reese, tying her name to their new DIJONAI sneaker line.
DIJONAI Carrington is looking around the room like, oh my God, I've never been in this much fire. I mean, it's getting so bad that now her endorsements are potentially about to pull out on representing DIJONAI.
An apparel contract that was supposed to raise her profile across the entire league. This wasn't a one-off appearance fee or a small regional ad campaign. This was Reebok betting on her as a long-term piece of their basketball brand. And then, days after the ejection and that white privilege post happened, Reebok moved fast. Fans didn't wait around either, flooding Reebok's social pages demanding the deal get pulled, calling the whole sequence a cheap shot followed by an excuse that never landed with anybody watching. The comments under Reebok's own posts about the shoe got buried under people calling for Carrington's head. And when your own marketing posts turn into a pile-on against your athlete, that's a business problem, not just a PR headache.
Every single game for the rest of the season counts. And the fact that she let her hate and her ego cost the game for her entire team is so toxic. It goes to show that she has very little respect for her teammates because they all work their absolute asses off. They've all got something to prove. They know that, they started the season with all this hype. They didn't kick it off very strong.
Think about the position Reebok was in. You're a brand trying to sell shoes off the growth of women's basketball, and suddenly your signature athlete is at the center of a viral clothesline one week and a race-baiting caption the next. Compare that to Clark and the rest of the Fever roster who keep landing bigger deals precisely because brands trust how they carry themselves on and off the court. Reebok's basketball division isn't run by some random executive either. It's run by Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most recognized names in the sport. And Reebok pulled the deal. Nepotism opened the door for Carrington once, but it wasn't there to close it behind her this time. She didn't take the news quietly, and going after O'Neal directly is exactly where this gets worse for her.
But says it wasn't about the foul. Can you explain this?
No, I can't. When she tweeted white privilege, she did it so quickly, it was almost as though she had the phone in her pocket after this foul and she got ejected. So, I mean, to say she wasn't referring to this play or getting kicked out and saying that the only reason she got kicked out and it got upgraded is because Sophie Cunningham is white is crazy. It was a crazy thing to tweet, maybe crazier than to try to act like it had nothing to do with the play. So I have no idea what she's talking about. I don't think anybody can have any idea what she's talking about.
Before we talk about how she threw a major tantrum at Shaq, let's first break down why she had this coming because it wasn't just about the Cunningham attack. It's been a pattern built over the years. Nobody in that United Center crowd looked shocked when Carrington got tossed. And that's because this wasn't new. Rewind to the 2024 playoffs. First round, Connecticut Sun against the Fever. Carrington's hand goes straight into Caitlin Clark's face while she's defending a pass, and Clark's head snaps back from the force. She walked around for the rest of that series with a black eye that became the story of the entire playoffs. Carrington's response afterward was to shrug it off completely, saying she was just trying to make a play on the ball and followed through, and that it's never intentional because that's not even like the type of player that I am.
I'm telling you right now, she need to be held accountable. So Reebok, stick it to her. Stick it to her. Because what she did was ruined a brand deal like no other. She ain't even all that on the basketball court anyways. Common sense would have told you not to clothesline Sophie Cunningham from hell. Because you want to know why? The backlash you're going to get from that decision will affect your pockets. And I'm so happy that these brands are now seeing what we've been seeing. A whole lot of BS going on from these players. And I'm telling you right now, more players need to lose brand deals when they do stupidity, especially to Caitlin.
Joked about it on Instagram Live later, which tells you exactly how seriously she took hurting the face of the league's biggest rookie. Maybe you call that incidental contact and move on. But stack it next to this year's clothesline, and it stops looking like an accident and starts looking like a habit because 2025 wasn't some clean redemption season for her either. She picked up 3 flagrant fouls in just over a month, including hits on Skylar Diggins-Smith and Jessica Shepard. And on May 21st, she managed to injure an opponent and her own teammate, Paige Buchers, in the same reckless play. One analyst put it bluntly, she's either a cheap shot artist or the most reckless player in the history of basketball. Most players go entire seasons without picking up a single flagrant. Carrington racked up 3 in about 5 weeks. And it's not just her.
There was a little wind up there and there was some follow through. This will probably get upgraded. Now Carrington was trying to make a play on the ball, but by rule, the wind up and follow through are trigger signals for the officials that this will likely get upgraded.
Absolutely dirty, reckless.
As a team have brought hard fouls, hair pulls, and extra shoves after the whistle against Indiana for 2 seasons straight. This rivalry stopped being about who wins the game and turned into a question of whether Fever players would walk off the court healthy. Carrington's added her own commentary on top of it, too, mocking Clark for flopping and calling Indiana's fanbase the nastiest fans in the W. Compare that to how Clark and Cunningham have handled all of it. Clark gets hit constantly and just keeps playing, never once trying to return the favor. One analyst said Clark's become the league's biggest fan favorite, not just because of her record-breaking stats or viral highlights, but because she consistently shows poise when the league refuses to protect her. And that officiating inconsistency is real.
The basketball, she basically reached around Shepard's body, but the fact that she went for the basketball and for the block really
The basketball play.
Yeah, it is, and she ends up getting Shepard in the face, the nose. I don't know which takes precedent. Oh, see, it's the hit the ball and then it's the pull back. They're showing it on the Jumbotron at a different angle that sort of looked like, watch after Carrington goes for the block, watch her pull back right here, and that's the part that I don't know if you separate that. Do you separate?
Carrington racked up flagrant after flagrant with barely a mention from the league office while Clark gets a technical for merely touching a fly. So when Carrington got ejected against Cunningham this season, this wasn't the league overreacting to one bad moment. It's the moment 2 years of pattern finally became too obvious for anyone, including her own sponsor, to keep explaining away. Getting tossed from that game wasn't the moment that hurt Carrington most. What she did with her phone a few minutes later did far more damage to her than the ejection itself. Here's the sequence. Carrington gets ejected, starts walking toward the locker room, and before she even gets there, she posts 2 words on Threads in all caps, "white privilege." And she doesn't just post it into the void. She tags the Indiana Fever's official account directly, making sure it lands right on their page for everyone following the team to see. This isn't a slow burn either. Reports say this happened within minutes of the ejection while the game was still going on and Cunningham was still out there playing. The reaction was instant. Fans and media jumped on it immediately. And the accusation was the same from almost everybody watching.
My God, it's getting real. It is getting very much real. For in the field, for them pockets. That's what I like to see. Pockets getting hit hard, bro. Hard. Because somebody need to hold these players accountable for the stupidity they have been putting out. Because it has been a lot of stupidity. And to add even more insult to injury, thousands of people are calling for Reebok to drop their endorsement for DIJONai Carrington after she attacked Sophie Cunningham. Now this was from earlier this morning.
Not doing something wrong on tape, and instead of owning it, she tried to turn it into a race narrative to deflect from her own foul. Cunningham didn't dodge the question when reporters brought it up after the game. She said it straight, "This has nothing to do with race. Last year I did the same thing and I got kicked out and I deserve to be kicked out. There's no reason even to play that card." Read that again. That's not a commentator with an opinion. And it's not some league office statement covering itself legally. That's the player who got hit in the face calmly explaining that she'd been in Carrington's exact shoes and just took the ejection instead of making excuses. That's why the quote hit as hard as it did. Cunningham had zero reason to defend Carrington and every reason to be angry after getting hit in the head.
Carrington tweeted out white privilege from the locker room of a game that she was playing in. Get this, she fouled Sophie Cunningham hard. Sophie Cunningham, obviously a white person, fouled her hard. Flagrant 2, gets ejected, goes to the locker room and tweets out white privilege in the middle of the game. Now here's the kicker to me. A flagrant 2 has to be contact that can lead to an injury that looks excessive. DIJONai, it was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of there being white privilege, this was...
Stayed calm, referenced her own accountability from the year before, and shut the whole race angle down in about 15 seconds. Carrington's post made her look defensive and reactive, while Cunningham's answer made her look like the only adult in the conversation. And this thing didn't stay inside women's basketball circles. ESPN picked it up. The Guardian covered it. The BBC ran it overseas. And Barstool Sports put out a headline calling it exactly what it was.
It's actually black privilege because she knows the WNBA won't do a single thing of significance about it. And imagine if the roles were reversed. If Sophie made a comment similar to this, then she'd likely never play again. And actually, we just saw this from Coach Sandy Brondello. She got disciplined for making, I believe, a pretty innocent, maybe, offhand comment about talking about Angel Reese and saying that she's a protected species. She was suspended and disciplined. And I think if that's the standard, then DIJONai should be too.
Carrington posting white privilege after nearly taking Cunningham's head off and getting tossed for a clear flagrant 2. A basketball foul turned into a national story about accountability and about the time it takes to drive home from the arena. Somewhere in a Reebok office, executives are watching this blow up across every major outlet in the country with their athlete's name attached to it. The foul is what got her ejected. That Threads post is what got the suits paying attention. And what Carrington was about to lose over it was a lot more money than anyone watching that game realized in the moment.
Of course, as usual, responding and not taking it lying down, responded to all of this saying, I think the league is taking care of that, meaning the foul. And this has nothing to do with race. Last year, I did the same thing and I got kicked out of a game and I deserved to be kicked out. There's no reason even to play that card, meaning the race card. Clearly, I think it was unnecessary. I don't even know her. She wasn't even on the team last year when all that was going on. But I do think people play the fever. We're nationally televised. There's a lot of eyes on us and people just want attention. And that's her just trying to get attention.
So what happens when a player loses her only sponsor and then decides to go after the guy running that brand instead of just staying quiet? You get exactly what Carrington gave us. Reports across multiple outlets described her reaction as a full meltdown once the Reebok news hit. And instead of taking the loss and moving on, she picked a fight with Shaquille O'Neal, the exact man who runs Reebok's basketball division. She posted on Twitter that Shaq is biased and that he's feeding into the privilege of other players. It didn't stop with just Shaq either. When Emmanuel Aiko called out her post on his show, saying it was very ignorant and irresponsible and pointing out flatly that you hit her in the head, you caused bleeding, you didn't touch the ball at all, Carrington fired back on X instead of letting it go.
DIJONAI Carrington, after getting thrown out of the game for her ridiculous foul on Sophie Cunningham, went to social media and claimed white privilege. To do that, Emmanuel Acho basically pushed back and said you can't call everything white privilege. It undercuts the idea so many have talked about. And then DIJONAI went to X and responded to Emmanuel Acho. He said, I never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege. That was your assumption. Try exercising your critical thinking skills. No, you studied psych. Furthermore, I'm the last thing from ignorant or asinine when it comes to speaking on white privilege. Do your research on that one. Actually went to school, one of the top universities, might I add, to educate myself on this exact subject. Would never use that term as a rhetorical weapon, knowing the historical and social weight it holds without having the proper evidence to substantiate it. So, in your face, Annual. What I want to know is, then why were you posting white privilege in the locker room immediately after being ejected? What were you? Randomly sitting in the locker room having just been ejected, thinking about when you posted white privilege, and by the way, tagged the Indiana Fever.
She wrote that she never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege, calling that his assumption and telling him to try exercising critical thinking skills since he studied psych. Then she went further, bringing up her own Stanford degree, writing she's the last thing from ignorant or asinine when it comes to speaking on white privilege, and telling him to do his research since she actually went to school, one of the top universities, to educate herself on the subject. Think about who she picked as her target. O'Neal isn't some random Reebok employee running a regional office.
Go straight to jail. This is assault, right? This is assault. Now let me tell you something. This is assault. She needs to go to jail. Premeditated. Go to jail. Go to jail. She needs to be arrested. Go to jail. I want her in jail. I want her in jail. She should never touch her. Nah, can't do it. All right, we already know the WNBA is in a position right now. You need to make an example of that.
Meanwhile, over in Indiana, things are moving in a very different direction. The foul, the post, the rant at Shaq, none of that is separate. It's the same player refusing to own anything. And it finally cost her the one deal she had. Meanwhile, Indiana just went out and won the game 90-86 with Clark dropping 26 and 11 dimes and Mitchell pouring in 27 to break Aya Wilson's scoring streak record. No drama needed. Boston grabbed her 8th double-double, and the Fever sit 4th in the standings with Clark's MVP case growing every week. Chicago's dealing with the fallout it built for itself, and Indiana's just getting started toward 2026. Does Carrington deserve to be fired by Reebok? What should the WNBA do? Let me know down in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications as we're bringing you all the action and top stories.